What's up everybody, Liam here, and today we're going to be focusing on something a little bit more different than our video game related nonsense. We're going to be doing movie reviews. This is something that me and Paul have been wanting to do for quite a while, and since we are moviegoers ourselves, Paul more than me, we're going to be wanting to express our opinions on the latest movies, whether they have just come out in cinema or they've just been released on Blu-ray or anything like that, just to give our opinion across and let you know what we think of them. And today we're going to be focusing on The Conjuring 2. So without giving too much away, The Conjuring 2 is this horror house haunting film which is set in the 1970s, and it is based around this family in London who are being terrorised by this spirit or this demon. And they reach out for help to this couple of paranormal investigators in the States called the Warrens, which if you've seen the previous Conjuring films, or maybe not Annabelle, if you've seen the last Conjuring film, you would know that they are pretty good at what they do, and they have now risen to fame and a bit more popularity because of the cases they have done in the last film. And people are starting to call them out, being like, oh, you're just taking advantage of people's beliefs and all this sort of thing. And at the beginning of the film they're like, we're done, we can't do this anymore, because they themselves are being terrorized by this demon from 7 years ago. But regardless of what they think or anyway, or what they want to do, if they want to quit or not, they are somehow persuaded into helping this family out in London, as one of the Warrens, the wife actually, foresees her husband's death at the hands of a ghost or some sort of paranormal spirit, and she is scared to do any more cases because of this vision or this prophecy or whatever you want to call it that she saw while she was doing her work. And this may all seem a little bit oh, what's that spirit got to do with this spirit over here in London? But it ties in very nicely at the end, and it keeps you guessing throughout what the hell is going on. And it's very, very tense at times. Well, I say at times, it is like always tense. It never slows down. There's a point, granted there is a point at near towards the end of the film, just before like the big showdown or whatever you want to call it, where it does die down, it does calm down, and it's a nice little breather just before the big sort of finale, if you want to call it that. But right from the get-go, you are pretty much, the first scene is a load of people being sat at a table doing some kind of spirit chanting and trying to, the creep factor is just there from the start, and it does not stop. It's like a guitar string. It just winds up slowly, the tension, and then there's a scare, and then like there's another scene, and then it winds up again, and then it's a scare, and it's like, oh my god, are you gonna stop? Are you gonna stop with the scares? And I'm not a big fan of horror films. I'm a bit of a pussy, but I'm slowly getting into them. And I would say that even if you haven't seen the first Conjuring film or Annabelle, I would say you could go into this and you will completely understand it. You have a good time anyway. It's not so much scary, it's more creepy than anything else. There are a few jump scares here and there, but you know, where is a horror film not going to have jump scares? But they're not overused, and the fact that you get to see the jump scare briefly just before it does the jump scare, and it gives your brain a little chance to register, I have to applaud that. I think that is such good use of like camera work and you know, just stuff like that. Is actually, you know, makes you think that the scare has been there. It's like standing in the room all along. It's not just going to pop out and go "Rah!" or you know, scare you like that. I don't know. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion. I found it really interesting doing it that way, and there were certain scenes which really got to me. And again, without spoiling too much, there's this scene like in the smack bang in the middle of the film where they are trying to communicate with this spirit that has possessed one of the children of this family, and the spirit demands that they all turn their backs whilst communicating with him, because he is sat in a chair and everybody is trying to talk to him. So they all turn their backs, and all you can see is one of the Warrens' faces trying to talking to him with his back turned like that, and you can see in the background it's very, very blurred, but you can see like the spirit like talking to him, and it's the focus is on one of the Warrens, but the unfocused side is on this spirit, and you could see him slowly like turning from this child into the actual spirit, and you can see his mouth moving in the background, and all the time you're focused on you're focused on this on the Warren, but your eyes are drawn to this other side where it is just so fucking creepy. It's like, what? And then like as they turn around, the conversation ends at the end, it turns back to the child, and it was like, whoa, that was scary. And that was a standout scene for me. And I'm not going to talk any more about the story, I swear, but it's quite hard not to gush and explain to you some of the things that I really enjoyed about this film. Another thing which I found really surprising and really quite good actually was there was a surprising amount of character depth in this film as well, even for like the minor characters. And for an example, there's this journalist that comes in about a third of the way through the film to try and get a story on this family, to see what's going on and everything like that. And a little way into the film you think, oh yeah, he's just a journalist, he's just trying to do his job and everything like that, but it's you find out that it's not he explains to you later on that he's not doing this just to get a story and everything like that, but it's because his daughter died in a car crash, and he wants to know that if there are spirits out there and if they are going to a better place, it's to put his mind to rest, to know that she's in a better place as well. And I found that quite moving, quite touching, especially for a minor character as well. You don't often see that in films, and I have to applaud that. That's it's a really good job actually, and it made me, not, I wouldn't say tear up a little bit, but it gave me the feels. It definitely gave me the feels, because I'm sure there are some people out there that can relate to that, and actually I think a lot of people can. Moving from the good to the bad, I want to talk about some of the negatives that I had with this film. There were some typical jump scares or just scares that I called out before I even like saw them coming. Like for example, there was a few items in this film that I knew that would be used later in the film to like, you know, scare the kids or whatever, like, or there would be like a certain item, like, you know, like a toy box or a bell or something like that I saw it being introduced into the film as like a typical item, but like later on down the line it'll be used to scare the living shit out of the kids and stuff like that. I called it, and I found it a little bit predictable, but it didn't happen all throughout the film. There was some curveballs thrown at me, and I like to be taken by surprise. I like to be, I mean, even though I'm not a movie horror guy, I don't like to call it out and predict it, because it's less scary for me. A horror film is supposed to be tense, and it's supposed to throw the unexpected at me. And it does that for the most part, but for some of the time it does take the old predictable route of being like, oh, that's what's going to happen, and oh yeah, you're right, and stuff like that. And I found that a little bit a shame. Yeah. Another gripe I had with this film is how similar I found it compared to the other films of the franchise, especially the ending and Annabelle's ending when you compare the two side by side. I'm not saying that you know, the horror film, I know the horror film genre is being done to death, I get that, and I know there's not much you can do with this particular style of horror, and anything else you can probably do has already been done. But if you're going to do something different, at least make it different, you know, a bit more different than the other films you have done in the franchise. You know, it's just like, it feels like you've seen it before, and I know it was just a bit of a shame for me, and it ended on a bit of a dud. Even though the ending was quite cool and I did like it, I just kind of still felt like, yeah, I've seen this before. I saw it in Annabelle. This whole tone of the film, I saw it in the Conjuring 1. But again, I did find that the Conjuring 2 was a lot better than the other two films. And I still stand by my my statement when I say that you could go and see the Conjuring 2 without seeing any of the other films, and you'll still have a good time, even if you aren't so much of a horror film, even if you're not so much of a horror film lover, you'll probably still find some enjoyment in this. So taking all of what I said into account, I'm probably going to give this my final verdict of a 7 out of 10, and I probably would buy it on Blu-ray or DVD if it was reduced down in price. It's a very good film. I did enjoy myself. I did, get very tense and everything like that, and it did surprise me in areas, especially with character development and the story and how story involved it was for a horror film as well. But some of the how predictable it was at times, and how it didn't really up the ante that much, but it kept, it kept the same storyline, keep going and everything like that. And surprisingly how successful it was for a horror film sequel. You don't really see those being that good after the first one, and they always try and cram in for a trilogy or whatever. And I would happily go and see The Conjuring 3 if it was a thing later on down the line. But for now, The Conjuring 2, 7 out of 10. And if you do go plan on seeing it, then I hope you enjoy it, and I give you my full recommendation. So that's been it for the reviews. Hopefully next time I'll do another review. If you kind of like what I'm doing here, or if you feel like I'm spoiling a little bit too much for you, then please comment in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time for maybe another playthrough, another review of game or movie or whatever. But again, we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye for now.